Hey, what's up, everybody? We're back again with the newest episode of My Turn, My Truth. When it's your turn, you tell your truth. Right now, you're looking at the Rice Man.
You didn't let us say it.
What?
We tell your truth, man.
Yeah,
We tell our truth. See, God dog it.
yeah. I left it out this time. Man. I didn't do it. So y'all was talking. I just went ahead and went with something else.
Took
You know what I'm
control.
saying? Because when it's your turn, you do what?
Tell your truth.
Say it true.
All right. Right now, you're looking at the Rice Man. Who else we have on the show tonight?
Mata.
It's your girl Ken. Follow me on TikTok and Instagram at m.kennedii. Y'all know.
That's it.
Mackenzie.
Muriel.
That's our cast for tonight. The family is intact. We have us all here. And so that means we got extra rice. That's what it means.
Okay.
That part. All right. Last week's episode, we had some very spirited conversation last week. We hope to pick up from that again this week. So I think last week we were talking about what was the gist of our conversation last time. Kind of like it was relationship topics, and it was.
But we were trying to say, did we feel like love or compatibility was more important in a relationship? It started there, and then it went a lot of different places.
All right. So we ended last week. I brought up a topic, and I started to talk about dual parent households versus single parent households. Mm-hmm. And could you tell a lot about a person by which household they came from, and would that be a good indicator of how they would be in a relationship? And should you be weary of them based on the type of household they came from? Mm-hmm. And I think the gist of it is where I was coming from last time was that when we're looking at women looking at men today, they're looking at men and saying men should do this, or men should be like this, or men should be this. They should take on this responsibility. But if a man came from a single family household, how would he know, how to treat? He's never seen anybody treat his mom any kind of way. If she never was in a relationship like that or a long-term relationship, how would he know how to treat a woman if he's never been disposed to it, if he's never seen it at home? And for women, the same. A lot of men, we say we want a woman to submit. We want to see a woman like this. But if you're a mother, if you grew up in a single family household, was the boss, did everything, wore all the hats, was very independent because she had to be, and that's all you saw. You didn't see your mother ever submit to a man. What would that mean for you if you never seen what submission looks like? How could you be submissive to your man? And would you have a more of an independent outlook on life and things in relationship, and what type of problems that would cause if a guy came from a double family household and he wanted that? And how would that look? So what do y'all think? Any ideas right off the top?
Yes, I would say I do think it has an impact, but if you go into a relationship with an open mind and open line of communication with your partner, I feel like you could definitely figure it out by them telling you what they want and need out of the relationship. And if you're willing to do that and willing to learn how to do that, then I think y'all should be good. But initially, yes, I think it's going to have a big problem because what you see in your household normally is how you act or impacts on how you are as a person, just generally the life outcome. So, yeah.
Right. And I guess what I've seen as I talk to women, because we run a podcast, I'm asking people all types of questions. Everybody I work with, everybody I know, I'm asking them questions so I can pick their brains and see what they think. And if a woman, what I'm sensing is the women that have come up around very independent, strong, do-it-myself women, they are very much the same, and they feel like whatever this guy can do, I can do, and why would I submit to him? I don't need his money. I do my own. I have my own, and I can take care of myself. And so guys are trying to figure out, what can I add to your life? What can I be to you if you can do everything by yourself and on your own? How are we going to coexist? What's going to be my role in our relationship?
Yeah, well, I would say on both ends that plays a vital part on how the one views the other, because coming from a 2-parent household, I really feel like to all the other 2-parent householders, it's easy. I made that up on a slick. It's easy to say what you would do if you had one parent.
Absolutely.
You know, I said I would think that too. Man, I don't think that, but I would. You know, if I was in a situation like, oh man, if I had only my mom, I'd just do this and I know how to be a man and do all that and learn on my own. Like, yeah, TV is different than reality.
Absolutely.
And you know how to do something mentally instead of actually being in that fire is two totally different things. You know, living that lifestyle and thinking what you're gonna do and being in that moment, two totally different things.
Right.
You know, I see domestic cases and stuff all the time, and people talk about, oh, I would have did this different. Nah, you ain't. That's all you know. So that's all you know. That's all you grew up with. That's implanted into you, and it's gonna take a little bit of to try to break that. You can break it, of course, but it's gonna take a little bit more effort than you probably think to break that cycle.
Right.
So
we got the ladies are pretty quiet tonight. I don't.
Mark said something.
I was the first one that said something.
I'm just saying. I'm looking at you. I mean, you're always opinionated, and I just haven't seen you talk today. So I was just wondering.
He just want to hear me talk, y'all. I'm
Okay.
shocked.
Cut it out.
But I definitely feel like growing up in a 2-parent household versus a single parent household, I feel like, you know, your upbringing definitely will play a role in your relationship because it's who you are in a sense, is what you know, is how you were taught. It's learned behavior, whether it was voluntary or involuntary. And to your point, you know, if you see a strong, independent person, namely your mom, and she's doing everything, she's handling everything, I can see how some females will feel like, well, if I do all that, then what good as a man? But I don't know how long we're gonna stay on this particular subject, so I'm finna kind of take it somewhere else. I feel like, well, no, I'm gonna stay here until you get to that question. But yeah, I definitely feel like it's a part of your upbringing. Upbringing is definitely a part of your relationship, and it's unfortunate. A lot of relationships, I feel like, don't make it because people, going back into our last conversation, are not compatible, and they're not compatible for those reasons, and they don't. I guess they didn't reach the love threshold to learn how to compromise and become compatible. Because a lot of times, like, I can speak for myself, although I was in a 2-parent household, it still really was a single parent household because my father, you know, he was there and he provided financially by force. and but he was absent. So my mom was a very strong presence in my life. And I feel like I didn't have an example to look up to as far as a marriage. So when we got married, we learned together on my side of things. We learned together, and I know I screwed up a lot. It's a lot of things that I had to, I guess, self-correct or correct just that based off of our individual conversations with each other, or, you know, just getting other perspective of different married couples, or, you know, putting spirituality into our relationship to try to build on the foundation that we started. But it was not like I came into the relationship, into the marriage, knowing how to be a wife.
Gotcha.
And I feel like that's important.
And I was just gonna say I wanted different opinions on this. So I asked a few friends how they felt about it, and one of my friends, Josh, said he 100% agrees that upbringing, how you were brought up, affects how you are in a relationship, because you see how people move in your household, and eventually what you see is what you become.
Oh man.
And another friend, Antonia, said as humans, we subconsciously pick up habits that we see and act them out without even realizing.
Right.
So it's like you don't have to be doing it on purpose, and you don't realize that you're doing it, but it becomes a habit.
It's that's just a part of you. That's who you are.
And that's what I was gonna say too. Like coming from a double householder again.
Love it, y'all.
I made that up. It's mine. Copyright. All right. But yeah, I feel like a lot of single parent households. All my friends have single parent households. Yeah, all of my male friends have single parent households. You know, a lot of times, all my male friends can't keep a girlfriend, and you know, it's because I feel like, I'm not gonna say everybody, but that sense of abandonment is, you know, I've been doing it. I've seen my dad do it by himself. He did fine. My mom was fine, so I could be fine. It's easier to, you know, I can do this by myself. I don't need nobody else. You know, I'm better off by myself. Like, I came in without you. I came in without my mom, or I came in without my dad. What it look like having a, you know, boyfriend and girlfriend. So I feel like it would be easy for that. But me having a 2-parent household, I came into a relationship with her at a marriage standpoint. Like, okay, we're no more. I'm not leaving, because I came from a 2-parent household, and I've seen them bend, but they never ever broke ever. So that mindset subconsciously, well, not subconsciously, I knew. Like, they came to me like, okay, if this is the one, we can bend, but I'm not leaving her. Right. Like, no matter how things get, I don't know how to rely just on myself, because I had 2 people that rely on each other, and I feel like that played a vital part. So,
but see, that goes back to the conversation on last week, because that's where love is important. Right. Because if love is the foundation of your relationship, it's the true foundation. I mean, compatibility, yeah, we all agree that you have to have that. But if love is the true foundation of your relationship, you will love your way through it.
Right.
A lot of times with people look for compatibility, and they're as soon as trouble hits, they off to the next best thing, and then they end up having the same issues in that relationship, because it's you. It ain't the different people that you've been with. It's you. You needed to fix yourself. You need to work on yourself, and now you're just passing this plague, if you will, from relationship to relationship to relationship, and not really settling down to see who you really are, and loving on you, working on you, so that you are able to properly love someone else.
So I think too, like being able to be independent on your own without having someone to affirm you in certain things. Like, you know who you are to a certain extent, but like, you don't know who you are with someone else.
Exactly.
And because of that, like, it's really easy for a relationship to fall, if that makes sense.
That makes plenty of sense. Yes. Plenty of sense.
Well, since we're on that subject, I had a few stats that I want to read. And we're talking about single family households as of 2023. It said black people, typically, by the numbers, 63% come from a single family household.
Okay.
In this last generation, of course, it was a lot lower than that previously, earlier on. White, 24%, Latino, 42%. So black families are more single family households than any other race. And we know that there were reasons initially for that. You know, segregation and things played a part in that, and how, you know, for us to get, you know, financial support from the government, you know, the guy couldn't be living there for you to get your, you know, your benefits and stuff. So there were incentives for black women to say, black man, you can't live here, because if you do, I lose my benefits. Right. You know what I'm saying? So we were kind of pitted against each other and spread apart during times when they went for the war on drugs. They arrested a lot of black guys, you know, easy, low-hanging fruit, not kingpins, low-hanging fruit, just to get little drug dealers off the street. They isolated on black neighborhoods. They put a lot of black guys in jail. So again, that perpetuated the black male not being at home. And now it's caused a system of things to happen. You know, black women were had become used to not being with the father, and fathers not being used to being with the mother. So it got easier and easier over time for it to play out the same way. But yet again, more single family households from black families. So, and I saw other stats saying that black couples get married later on in life than any other race. Black black people are getting married around 28 to 32 versus white families, white people get married around 23 to 24, and other races in Asians get married even earlier. So we get married later in life. Like we don't see it as important earlier, and we get married later, and then we still get married less. So a lot of these numbers I want to dive into it at a later episode, because we got to really look into those numbers and find out, why, or, and everything like that. So that's for another topic.
Also, I was just gonna say on this, on this topic about the upbringing, I've seen it. Like I have a lot of friends, like as Mackenzie does, that didn't grow up in two-family households, but I mean two-parent households, and I've seen it like one of two ways only. It was the cycle continues with the kids, or the kids in the family they break the cycle, and they be like, okay, well, I knew this was what not to do with my family, so when I grow up, I'm gonna be there for my family, and I'm gonna do that. So it's just like, really, is however the cycle goes. And I know sometimes a lot of things have to do with what is being told to the kids, and other reasons why other parents are not in the households, like Dad said. But like,
with people that break in the cycles, and I do agree that it is, those are the two standards. I mean it's either do or don't. But I feel like the people that decide to break the cycle are the ones that have outside influence outside of just what they're living in. Because a lot of times you have, like, my grandfather, you have him as like a role model, and you see how he treated his family and his wife. Or you have like coaches or different people like that you're around a lot and the majority of your time, that you can see that experience somewhere else and not necessarily live it.
Absolutely.
So, and then you have some young men or some young women that are just strong enough to say, I'm not gonna be like that, and they fight against what their standard was. That's just like somebody growing up in poverty. If they know the aches and the pains and the trials and the tribulations of growing up through poverty, they make a personal commitment and promise to themselves that they're gonna change or they're gonna break that cycle. And it's just that same type of thing. I feel, and
it is hard, easier said than done to break cycles like that.
And I also feel like too, like my mom said, like some people just want to break that cycle, but it has to mean more than a cycle to you. It needs to be love. Love needs to be the first option, because if my parents were together, I'm just not gonna marry Marielle because I'm trying to break the cycle and have the cycle on top of her. I'm going to marry Marielle because I love her. I mean, the cycle is there. You're gonna break it naturally, but that should not be your main goal. Is to, I'm gonna hurry up and get married, do this and do that, just so I can be like them, because that's not gonna work.
That's the wrong reason.
That's the wrong reason. You got the answer, but you couldn't show your work. So
you definitely have to have the right.
You gotta have it for it to last and be strong, and
Well, I'm about to shake it up and get to something that's a little more, that's a little more pressing right here. So, all right. Looking at some, social media, which I look at a lot to get to these topics. If someone asked you, and I guess this is more directed to the ladies, but fellas, we can answer too. If you were asked, who is the leader of your relationship? Who is the boss of the relationship? What would you say?
Okay. I would say the male, but that goes back to my upbringing and what I saw, because I saw Dad was the leader of the household, and that was what went on. So, and that's what I see, and that's what I know. So that's kind of like all I know. So that just goes back to the upbringing. It's also biblical. We can dive down that road, but I'm not going to go there. It's just men are just more natural leaders of the household, then that's just what it is. Fight me.
So I'm Marielle.
Yes.
Your answer to that question.
I would say, of course, Mackenzie, but I will say this, that growing up in an all-girl family, my dad raised me to be very independent, and it has been a struggle, I think, more internally than he knows, for me to let him take the lead. And I mean, he knows that there are some times where he has to be like, hey, let me take the lead. But there are times where I'm like, I think I can just take care of it. I think I can just take care of it, but out of respect, because I know that he should be the leader and also he wants to be the leader and he has the capability of being the leader. Then I give it to him.
It's me.
Of course it is you. Of course. I was just also
right.
giving into what we were talking about earlier.
Right. No,
relationship,
your upbringing.
In the marriage, it's the man. In the marriage,
yes,
it's the man. It's somewhere in Ephesians, somewhere. I don't know, but yeah. You know, I don't really know how to like put it
word
in
it,
podcast terms, but you know, just put me in the game. That's all I can really say.
So,
like
I feel
I was built for this. I'm putting me in the game.
Well, I feel like it all depends on the way the question has been worded, because I feel like a lot of times women take. Well, he's asking a female, so that's what I'm speaking from. I feel like a lot of times the female take offense of the wording of the question. So if you say, who's the leader of your relationship? Again, I mean, y'all may say it goes off feelings or emotions or whatever the case may be. That sounds better than who's the boss of your relationship. Right. So I think it's just the way that the question is being
I said
worded.
Leader first, then I said boss.
But, right, you said both. That's why I use both. So it have
agreed.
They have like a different meaning when you say it, although the words can
basically mean the same.
Right, basically mean the same thing. So, but my question my answer will be that, of course, it is the male. The male is the leader of the relationship, or like my son said, of the marriage or the household. And I'm not gonna lie, when you and Maria, that's why I said no. Your question, your answer to the question was perfect, because when you're young and you're into a relationship, you do have to step aside of put that independence to the side, or put would mean like strong will or whatever to the side, what you have been taught in those, going back to the previous conversation, in those single parent household or two parent households, and what the dynamics of in that, you have to be able to put that to the side in order to let your significant other lead. And that's not an easy task all the time. Right. If you was not raised that way. But I feel like a lot of times women take it out of, I guess the content. I think a lot of times, like being the head of the household, and I don't even know if we're here yet, but being the head of the household, I think women take it to like, I make the most money, so that automatically make me the head, right, or classify me as the head because I'm the breadwinner. And that's not what the head of the household is, who makes the most money. That's not the head of the household. It's more than just that. And I feel like in this generation and in generations to come, when we are being so independent financially, or when women are coming up and they're making more money than some men, that they automatically just take the man out of their position. That's how I feel.
I will also say, I think that's just the way it's supposed to be. I don't like, obviously it does say that in the Bible, so I'm not going to say it's an unspoken rule, but typically when a man and a woman get married, they take the man's last name, the kids take the man's last name, and it's like the father is the head, because that's just the way that it's supposed to be. They protect, they provide. It's just, they are the head that goes first. It's just.
Well, I mean, we know biblically, just it lends to the head of woman is the man, and the head of the man is Christ.
Yes.
So that's the way it was. I think back in the day, if I'd asked this question to our grandmothers, they would just say he's the leader.
Yeah,
and that's it.
No matter how it sounds, how the word was used, whether it was boss
back
or leader or man, right? I'm getting that.
Yeah, okay.
So because they didn't care how the question was phrased, it was him. Period. And they were fine with that and happy to say it was him. But now you're asking more the younger the people, because now feminism, social media, everything has said, why does he have to be the head? why can't you be the head? Why does there have to be a head? Why can't both of y'all be the head?
Right, we can both wear the pants.
You can both do this, So nowadays, when the question is phrased now, they'll say, well, I mean, like he is, but like you hear the buts and the is. Well, I don't. Yeah, so now it's just different because there are different ways to see it and think about it. That there's multiple heads, and the feminist movement say you're equal. Both of you guys can be the same. And why does he have to be the leader? You can lead on some stuff, and he can lead on some stuff. There's some stuff for everybody. So
I just think that a lot of times, women, they add that but in there. Excuse me, for like when it's convenient. When it's convenient, the male will be the head of the house, and when it's convenient for them to be the head, or it's something that I really feel strongly about, or I really want to do, then why can't we both be equal and da da da? But it's just like now all it's about convenience.
I would say too, if you took out money, who would still be the head of the household? If there was no money involved, you had a free house, free everything, who would be the head?
It would be the male.
It would be the male.
I think so.
My friend, my sis, Treese, she says, I love having my husband take the lead, our family, but he trusts and expects my support in most aspects of our marriage. And absolutely, that's what we were alluding to a little bit earlier, Latrice, is when, although the husband is the head of the household, it's just like there's different roles, if you will. So it doesn't, when you see somebody stepping up to be the lead, that doesn't mean that your role or your position is less important or less valued. It's just that you play different roles. And a lot of times in good marriages, the husband does always, most of the time, come to the wife, talk things over, get input. It is not like this is a solo thing. And I think that's a lot of times what younger people are thinking. Yeah. When I deputize my husband as lead, I have no say so. I have no individuality.
Or my feelings are not taken into consideration.
Right. Yeah. So they and they don't want to lose that. So that's why I feel like that bud is always there.
And you know what? The most excluded thing for marriage vows now: love and obey. Yeah. That's nowhere now. Women say, I don't want that in my marriage vow. So they just, the newer the relationship, they don't want the obey. They don't want it in there because they don't want anybody telling them what to do. And you get that now. Like, you don't even want it in the marriage vows. It's gone. So it's just one of those things that's now is like, okay, when I hear the head or the leader of the family, you know what I hear? I hear who's responsible.
Responsibility. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Who's responsible for this family?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If this family is in bad shape, they're looking for me.
The man.
The head. You. It's your fault. And a lot of times people don't get headship means when I need someone to blame or I need anything to happen, I need it to be fixed.
That's good.
That's where the pressure comes from because it's you. If I'm the manager of my team, and the team is not doing well, they're not going to ask my specialists.
Right.
They're going to ask, this is whose team is it? Right. And if I say mine, it's my fault.
And I feel like that's...
If it's not in good condition, I've always said this phrase, the condition of the kingdom emanates from the king. Mm-hmm. If the kingdom is in bad shape, it's the king's fault.
Right.
And it's not a fun position to be in at all times to be the leader of the head or something, because when they look at the product of what you're the head of, and if it's everybody going to jail and this happening, this found they're falling out, they're doing this, they're getting in trouble doing all this, they're looking at me.
Right. And
what you gonna do about it, bro? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're not gonna necessarily look at my wife. They're gonna look at me and say, what are you gonna do about it? What's happening? What's wrong with you? What you're doing?
And I feel like that is what a lot of women do not see. The hits we take. Right. You know, everything seems fine in your eyes. Everything gonna be all right. But they're not getting cussed out and ridiculed by the world, your parents, your boss, everybody, society. They're not getting the ridicule that we getting on that level.
So they're saying, obviously, if he was doing what he was supposed to be doing, then it wouldn't be like
and
that.
I understand.
But I'll take it farther than that, because for women who don't want the man or don't want to acknowledge the man at the head of the household, and for whatever reason the marriage dissolved, then why, when you get to court, you want the man to take care of you still? Right. Why don't you take care of yourself? Why don't you disconnect from that man since he was never the head of the household? Or why don't you get judgment since you was head of the household, and you take care of the man.
Right.
I mean, and that goes back to what Morgan said as far as the convenience. It's like when it works best for me, that's when I want it. And then like when I'm sitting in the court of law and the woman is looked at as the weaker vessel, the woman is looked at sometimes as the victim, the woman is looked at as the lesser. And you're okay in that circumstance because you want this man who won the head of the household, in your opinion, to take care of you.
Right.
Still.
And when you see domestic disputes and domestic violence, police pull up, the woman's crying and the man's there. They don't kick the man out because obviously you did something to her. Because you're in a position, you're stronger than her, you're bigger than her. Obviously it was your fault. You leave. And like, well, I gotta leave my house. You know what I'm saying? What just because she's crying.
Right.
Then I know I got to be wrong in this, you know what I'm saying, or something like that.
Y'all start crying too, and then see just which one they go take.
Man, they ain't gonna care nothing about us crying.
They said we crying because we going to jail.
That's
they said we
crying
because we just.
If you want to cry,
Man, but I ain't gonna lie, these new dudes are telling. They are
crying.
calling the police. These women are getting locked up. These new dudes are telling. They are telling.
They
They're calling the police.
No.
They are calling the police on women.
But I think that they should. You want to know why?
100%.
Because if we're going to be equal in the head of the household, and this what happened. If you did something that he need to tell him, call the police on you too. Yeah, go on, lock her up.
Right.
But I just feel like, too, that leadership comes with, it comes with your life. I mean, honestly, if you're doing it right, that comes with your life because you got to lead in every aspect. Like we talking about, like physical leadership is not, is looked upon because it doesn't happen as often. But you have to be ready to lay down your life.
Right, and like when people pass by your house, they drive by your house and it's a man and a woman live there, and the grass is high and the hedges look bad. Man, they don't say that woman ain't nothing. She trash. So they say, man, that dude over there living over there, he ain't worth a quarter. Because it's just how it looks. If it's not in good shape, they say that guy, who over there, man, that woman need a better man. Yeah. That's what they're going to say.
The woman shouldn't be doing this, even though my mom and Marielle and people, I enjoy doing this. That doesn't mean anything. That means nothing to society. That means that's just a niche that y'all like, that y'all have. Like that doesn't mean nothing to the neighbors, doesn't mean nothing to society, doesn't mean nothing to social media. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, and even if she likes to cut the grass, she might have cut it 3 times since we've been married. But I know she likes to do it. She doesn't mind doing it. I haven't cut it more than 3, but okay. No, you have not cut the grass. That's a lie. I have.
That is not. I know how to count. I know how to count.
5 and 29 years. That's possible. That's possible. But I know she does like to cut the grass. She would get out there and put her gloves on and jump right on in. And if I don't do it in enough time, she'll jump out there and get it.
Like you said, if neither one of y'all does it, whose fault? Even though that's something she loves to do,
of course
it's the fault. Who's the blame going to fall on?
I don't know. We're talking about this. I just feel like it's supposed to be the male. The male is like naturally just the leader. That's why in animals, the male is the leader of the pack. They're just naturally leaders. I'm not saying a woman can't naturally be a leader.
And honestly, with the women animals do more. They hunt. They kill.
We'll talk about that. I don't know if it's more, but it's different.
It's more often.
Yeah, you usually get killed by a woman lion or a woman bear trying to protect or do something or try to get his food, and the man just chilling.
But my thing is, I feel like women don't need to diminish who they are just because you hear the word lead.
Absolutely.
Because my husband lead, that does not mean that I can't be a leader. I'm just not the leader of my household. But that does not mean that I can't lead. And I just really feel like these new wave women and some old school as well. I just really feel like, again, when you say when you're picking a person that's leading. And it's like you're comparing, like the husband and the wife, they're in competition with one another. Yeah. It's how I feel it, because if it was not a competition, why does it matter that your husband is leading you? Mm-hmm. That does not mean that I'm not a leader. I'm just not the leader of my home.
Right.
I'm a leader at my job. You know what I'm saying? I'm a leader of my children are adults now.
You're still,
but I'm more so. No, the roles shift. They don't necessarily stay the same.
They shift.
But but when they were smaller, I was a leader of my children. I was a leader in my home as far as making sure that my home was taken care of. And then if it was things that I could not physically do or I cannot financially do, he's still on point for it.
Yeah.
Right.
Because whether it's like shingles outside on the roof that need to be fixed, he's on point for that, you know. But it's just like I feel like,
and I need to get those.
That was a little tidbit, y'all.
Get on point for that.
A little reminder.
Yeah.
Get on point for that, Dad.
But what I found out is that in relationships, if you're out at a Christmas ball and they say, "Who is that over there?" A woman will say, "That's my boss at work." Like that's my boss, my supervisor, my manager. That's my boss.
You said that's my husband.
And then they'll say, you know, well, I mean, yeah, I mean, where he'll tell me what to do, or they'll tell me what to do. It's fine to say that your manager is your boss, and he can tell you what to do at work. But when asked about your man, there's no, ain't no man gonna tell me what to do. But you won't look at your boss. Your boss at work can rebuke you. And I said this before to your pastor, your head minister, the bishop at the church. He can rebuke you, and you'll just, you know, shrink up and take it. But if your husband rebukes you, he can't rebuke you though. But he can pay your bills. Your pastor doesn't. He can do this. He can take care of you when you're sick. Your pastor doesn't. He can do all these things, but your pastor can rebuke you and your husband can't. And so some of these things I have issues with. I take issues with who can rebuke you. Well, this is the dude who has vowed his life to love, protect, and take care of you the best way he can, to death do you part. But he can't rebuke you. And there are people that you would allow to rebuke you, but he can't. So I struggle with the dynamic of that. And I know there are reasons for that. You know, there's past behaviors that there's a reason why you won't let somebody do that, or things that you think he's trying to be controlling and things like that. Because I think when women hear lead, they think controlling.
I think too that they think that their desires for the big things or the bigger decisions that the men are going to make, like their input is not valued in that, and that their desires are not valued. And I think that a lot of times, especially like younger people, that's what they think is like that my thoughts and my wants are not going to matter if he is leading over me. But it's not true.
That's where trust come in at.
100%.
Because my thing is, if I can't trust this man to lead me and take me into consideration, then we don't need to be together.
I was just going to say that. Yes. But what were you going to say that?
I was going to say the best leaders in the world know when to relinquish authority and task the people that are better suited for something than you are. Just the leader doesn't mean I do everything the best.
Right. They have the strong
or I do everything my way. I know that most of the things that we do and have happened in our life, I've made because that's what my wife wanted.
Right.
And you know, it'll look like I made the call, but a lot of times she has the input that I'll just say, yes, you're right, babe. And we'll do that. And it doesn't mean I don't have the final say on everything. I don't demand that this last decision is going to be mine. I know what's in her wheelhouse. I know what she's better than me at. I know where she's more knowledgeable than me in a subject or a thing, or she's better at doing this and that. I'm going to lean on her expertise in that category.
Right.
I don't have to be the smart one all the time or the leader and all that type of stuff. So I ask her, babe, what you think? And she'll say it and I'll be like, you know what? You right. That's what we're going to do. And it's done. She made the call, but if somebody asked her, what did y'all do this? She said, my husband wanted to do it. And I'm like, I'd be looking at her like, baby, you really was the one that came up with that or made that decision, but she always gives me credit for it. And I think that's one of the big things that I love about my wife.
I wanted to go back to what Mom said. Just because like Marielle said, like a woman feels like their opinions aren't validated or heard or anything. I'm back with Mama because that's not him just being a leader. Then you need to be looking elsewhere. Right. If that's the case, because that's a real issue, because a leader does take all of, even like what he said, like a boss, they take all of everybody's things into consideration. If you're a good leader. Right. If you're a good leader, because there's things that our boss would ask us because we're in this specific task every single day,
Right.
and you might not be doing this every single day.
Yeah.
So we might have a way that makes it more innovative or more quicker for us to do it, might be better than what you're thinking because we're in it every day and we know what we're doing, and you might not be looking at the specific thing every single day. So they take what we're saying into consideration. And I think that's a good part of a leader. And if you don't, I think y'all are getting leadership and control.
Yes, correct.
The lines are getting the lines are getting blurred, and that also comes with upbringing and just like who you have around you to let you know these certain type of things and what you learn about these certain type of things.
And too, though, being a believer as well.
Right.
Like my mom said, it's gonna always go back to that because I'm a believer. I feel like I'm gonna say it. I feel like that society and Christianity has devalued or took away the spiritual aspect of a man. When it comes to women are the prayer warriors, women are the nurturers, but when it comes to this, what does the man do spiritually? It's nothing. We just pay the bills. We just do all this. We just do that.
Man.
We don't have any.
One more time.
We don't have any right. No spiritual right. No right. No nothing. We don't do anything. And being in a 2-parent household, a man and a woman, it's my mom's spirit, man, didn't just keep this household intact. It wasn't just my mom spiritually that kept this household intact. It was my father, because my father prayed, my mom didn't. My father prayed, my mom did.
Right.
Like it took two of them, and the woman is not the only one that's supposed to be doing this. The man is more than just a physical leader; he's a spiritual leader as well.
Right.
And I feel like in a lot of households and society, it is the mama go to church, the daughter go to church, the man, just kind of if he ain't got no knowledge in his teachings or nothing like that, then it's gonna be a little shaky. His foundation, the man's foundation is shook or not, appreciated. Or not set in, like he doesn't know he has any foundation, then of course it's gonna be a little raggedy.
And I do feel like the man's leadership is based on who makes the most money.
Yeah, it's not spiritual.
Like if he makes the most money, he can be the leader. But if I make more money than him, how can he be the leader of the family?
Right.
Well, I got something that I guess I got a question. So, and it's for any women that may be out there listening, or any man for that matter. So for females, this is my question to you, because I hear Marlon say this a lot. He said that when you have a boss at work or you have a pastor or whatever the case may be, you tend to be
more submissive
or whatever to those individuals, or listen to what they have to say.
Yeah.
But you give your husbands your whole self. You give in to your husbands, and if you're willing to give in to your husband at that level, which is deeper than that other stuff, why can't you give in to him at the level of valuing his opinion or his leadership?
I think because you see his downfalls, and a lot of times we don't see the downfalls. And a lot of times we don't see the downfalls unless it's publicly announced of a pastor. And so we have him on a pedestal. And, if we put somebody else on a pedestal and we're, at the edge of the stool and our husbands are right next to us, then we're gonna say they're right there with us. So
that may be
I'm not saying that's okay.
That may be the realest thing I've ever heard, because we see his downfall and his weaknesses.
Right. And I would say it's the satisfactory. Women kiss up to men in their job because they want to raise. They kiss up to their pastors because they want a blessing or a feel good quote or just hands on them. Like, we gonna tell you what's wrong.
Right.
I mean, we gonna tell you what, not quote unquote what you what you want to hear, what you need to hear.
What you need.
We ain't gonna. I work in law enforcement, and my thing is firm, fair, consistent. Them 3 things: firm, you ain't a pushover, you fair, and you consistent. You do it all the time,
right? So
you don't switch up. A lot of times, women do stuff for stuff.
Well, I see it slightly different. I just see that they see their pastor as worthy of reverence, and not your husband.
Right.
I see your boss as someone who they look at him as an authority figure, one that should be revered and given a certain level of respect because he's my boss. And they just don't look at us that way. And I think it lends to what Marielle said, because you've seen where our flaws and faults are, and it's prevalent, and you know that we're not perfect, and we make mistakes, and we ain't got it all together, and so I ain't gotta listen to that. You know what I'm saying? Whatever, to that kind of stuff, and I see it more on that level than anything else.
I also just think this goes for everything, not just relationships, but like everything. Sometimes people just rather hear something from an outside source because they don't want, like, I'm in this argument with my husband and I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to tell him he's right. But if somebody else tells me, they can be like, oh, I can see it. Even though that's the same thing that he just said. Right. I don't know. I think it's like the authority thing. I don't want him to be more right than I am, and this. And I just think that's a downfall for a lot of.
I think that's what.
Okay.
I think that's what everyday life.
Right.
I feel like that's where everybody, like, my dad could tell me something 1,000 times. Shut up, man. I don't want to hear it. Or my mom, please leave me alone. I don't want to hear it. But if a random stranger at Kmart tell me the same thing, oh, yes, ma'am. I get it because I heard it from somebody else. Sometimes you just got to hear it from somebody else.
But so then, to me, what I'm hearing is that you become too familiar with that person.
That's real.
And that goes back to what your dad says, reverence. And then you hear that word reverence and you feel like, ugh.
Too comfortable.
But no, when you listen to the word reverence, it's just like you still hold this person at a certain esteem that you're not getting so comfortable with them where you in a sense diminish their positioning or their value in your life, because when you're comfortable with someone, you allow more things to go. You allow them to see more of yourself, whether it's good or it's bad. Right. But with certain people, you hold them at a certain regard, and you have that line there. And that line is just somewhere that you're just not gonna cross with that person.
And again, coming from a 2-parent Black household.
Yes. Come on.
My mama not my friend.
Yes.
My daddy not my friend.
Yes.
I reverend them as my parents. For all you weirdos saying, hey, Betsy, my mom is my best friend, you can go look at all my posts. I ain't never called a friend a day in my life. I ain't never called my dad my best friend a day in my life. I don't look at them. There's nowhere even close to them being my friends. I have no sight and
trust. We love them. We hang out with them. We tell them what we tell our friends, but they're not our friends.
But that goes back to the reverence.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was an example.
But I will say this: as y'all have become older children, older and adults, like I just said a few minutes ago, relationships change, and I can consider you at some point a friend, but at the end of the day, the mother role is on top of that.
Yeah, you can see me as that. I would never see you.
It does supersede that.
It supersedes that, and I think that's what a lot of people mess up at. Relationships, it's levels to it.
Right. Yes,
it's levels, because I can't treat you and Morgan like y'all are 5 and 10 years old anymore. It just ain't gonna work. Y'all are adults,
right?
So the relationship grows and it takes different roles.
And I honestly feel like that familiarity.
I know.
Aneurysm.
I know.
Okay. I feel like that can mess up relationships, especially work wise. I'd never go out to eat with my sergeant.
Yeah.
What the freak do I look like?
Unless it's a group thing.
Unless it's work.
We all going out
everybody
for work.
I ain't gonna chill with you outside of work. You my boss. And if you watching this, you my boss. I ain't gonna do that. That's weird. You gonna mess up a relationship.
Yeah.
You become buddy, and I do something to you outside the street. And then that's where lines are crossed. That's where, boundaries are crossed.
Right, because then you get to work and you start acting like,
Yeah, now you're going to start acting funny at work, cutting my pay because I know you, or I did something weird.
Or expect certain things that if we were still employee and manager or boss, that you would not expect if I didn't cross that certain line.
You expect me to stay over and do this and work overtime?
Now, I do believe there's something need to be said about how you start a relationship.
Yes.
Right. Because at the beginning of a relationship, if you allowed certain things to happen, in 5, 6, 7 years down the line, you want to be different. It's hard to go back and take that 6 years away, because you have a way of doing things. Like if you're a guy and your wife screams at you at public in front of people and you allow it early, you can't all of a sudden say 10 years down the line I'm the head and you can't do that. And it's like,
yeah, I've been doing that.
I've been doing that for 7 years.
You never had a problem with it before.
It's like when you get to a hard line on something very early, you have to say,
boundaries.
Look, I know we're married, but I'm your husband. Don't get too familiar. Let's make sure we still know who we are. Or my wife said, look, you can't talk to me like that. We're going to make sure we nip this in the bud right now. We need to nip this in the bud early so we can continue on with the rest of our relationship in a certain way, because I know when you're young, you don't have a lot of boundaries. Mm-hmm. You just kind of going through life and all of a sudden somebody gets saved or somebody reads something and now they want to change things. It's much harder to change something later on than it is to start off that way.
Okay, and to that point, because I think now I'm kind of going to slightly twist this conversation, but to that point of what you just said, I feel like, and I always have said this, and I can speak for myself as well because I'm not perfect and I'm in this generation. I feel like we jump into things very fast. Quickly. Y'all are talking for 2 days, then y'all moving in together, then 3 days later, y'all are getting married. And then from the marriage, the engagement, the next day, y'all getting married. Y'all, it's just so much. And I'm saying, like, we don't take time to get to know people intellectually, emotionally, yes, just to like get to know you. And I feel like if we're skipping that talking stage before the dating stage, and what I feel like is happening is we're skipping that, and then we're realizing that we're not going to be together later on, that if you would have not skipped that, then y'all probably would have never got together in the beginning, because you would have seen that this isn't going to work out. Because I feel that way about one of my exes. Like, we should have just stayed friends. We're perfect friends. Yep. For years, through school we was friends. Yep. Then we got together, and then it's just like, now I'm realizing I feel that way just because I liked you just a little bit, that we maybe should have just stayed friends. And maybe if we wouldn't have jumped so quickly into this because we were friends at first, that we would have realized that we would have never been dating.
Me and Mary was dating for what?
Years.
4 years. But we was friends for a year before that.
But even before we started dating, I literally sat him down. I was like, well, what are your goals in life? What do you want to do? And like, what are your expectations and boundaries? Because
did she do that?
I sure did.
Yes.
I sure did. Because why would I want to go into something if he doesn't want to end up where I am?
She was going to go to it regardless.
First of all, excuse me. Second of all, I set my boundaries right then and there. I said, you can't play with me if you're not going to date me.
Okay.
Exactly. Because that's real, though. Because if you don't say something, and if this is a deal breaker for you, then we just don't need to be together.
Compatible in a sense.
Save the time and all of that.
I think my wife did something very similar. Like, this is reserved for my husband, not for somebody who playing with me. So if your intention ain't that, then what we talking about,
right?
You know what I'm saying? So that was early on.
Honestly, I feel like the man don't go into that with that mindset first.
No,
I was just trying to have a good time.
You sure would?
I was like, trying to just somebody to kick it with for a little bit. I'm just trying to kick it. Have somebody text late night. I wasn't really thinking like that.
I have another question. Or if my wife, you want to go into another line?
No.
All right. So I have a question for all of y'all out there. Mm-hmm. We're talking about men leading, right? Do you feel, and this is real, that the leadership of a man or the headship for a man is a social construct he was trained and taught that he should be, or is it something that innately is in him biologically, physically, that makes him want to be that, desire to be that? If there was no social media, nobody teaching him that you should be the head, would he naturally want to be that or desire to be that? There's so many studies that show little kids at 2, 1, 3 showing that girls are more social. They're on the playground. They'll go there and start talking socially, while the boys will fight over the blocks and compete to be who's going to be the leader of this, whose sliding board is this, whose swing set is it. We'll fight over things from the beginning to show dominance, and I'm going to lead, while girls will get together and play, and they'll play and have social, and we won't. Do you feel like there's something biologically or something in us physically in our brains that dictates that us to want to lead and find it not just I want to be the head, but I have to be the head? Or do you feel this is all a social construct?
I don't think it's a social construct. I think that is how men were built. Right. But I was not one of them girls that sat around and socialized with the other girls. Wow. I didn't do that. I just said me personally. But so
and there are one-offs to this. Everybody doesn't fit the norm.
Right. I was a girl.
But we're talking about majorities.
Right, majority. You know. But I will say, if you just look up the spiritual makeup and the natural and the physical makeup of a man, and you don't even have to just like really be just like all involved. You can just take one day and just observe men, whether it's on a TV show or your own husband or your friend or whatever the case may be, and just look at them and how they interact with stuff, and you will see an inkling in their everyday walk that this is who they are. It's just a part of their being and a part of their existence. They try to fix it. They try to figure it out. If I try to have a conversation with my husband and I just want to just vent or talk things through, he's automatically in fix mode.
Yeah, fixing mode.
And that's just how they are. So I feel like it's just who you are, your being.
Well,
I feel like it's a bit of both. I feel like they do have that natural nature, but I also think too, whatever you nurture is how it's going to grow. So like, I feel like it's that learned behavior too. I think that the way that the parent leads and way that the father, if they have a father figure, leads, I feel like that has a big part of it as well.
Right.
But my brother, I mean, my dad was in the house. His dad, my dad was in the house, like I said, but he was physically, not necessarily.
We get it.
Yeah. So to me, I don't feel like he taught him how to be a man.
Right.
So he just was that, you know, and even like with my mom teaching him and being that up close and personal parent, he was still a guy because those things were just already in him.
Innately, yes.
I think every man can lead, but every man's not a leader.
Yeah.
Every man has the potential to lead.
Right.
But we're talking about the desire to do so,
correct,
not the ability at this
point.
point.
The desire to lead? No.
Right.
I don't think it's born.
Right. Well, I do. Well, the reason that I say, because we be calling God a liar. Because how he built us, he said, he is the head, and I'm going to make her to help him.
Oh, we're talking about a relationship.
I'm just talking period. So physiology, how he made our brains and our cells and everything, he said, this is who you are.
But not
and that's going to come out. Now, you have to learn how to be a leader.
Right.
But your desire to be one is going to be innate.
Right.
But then you say he talking about in a relationship, but I don't think so. Not just in a relationship, because the man is a man whether he's in a relationship or not.
That's where I'm going.
So my thing is, Adam was a being before Eve was even made.
Right.
So he made Adam to lead. Period.
Yeah.
Because even if he wasn't leading woman, he was leading the garden. He was naming the animals. Well, he was doing he was the leader.
That's right.
Period. And then he said it was not good for a man to be alone, and he created Eve to be a helpmate. But he was already a leader.
I want to change my answer to. I didn't really mean to say that like that. I feel like a lot of the leaders, because I was once at a pretty dark time in life where I just did not want the mantle anymore.
It's a heavy. It's heavy.
Not that I wasn't a leader. Absolutely. I knew I was a leader. But I feel like that's another perk about being a leader. You know, God kind of enhanced it. Hey, this is you. I didn't ask to be here.
Right.
I didn't say I wanted to do that. You said that.
Right.
And I ain't asked for this. Even though I am a leader, I mean, I was always the football team and fine arts. I mean, I'm the leader of my friend group. If y'all watching, it's me. I mean, everybody knows it's me.
Say that.
It's just sometimes that mantle gets real heavy, and I rather.
That's it, and we dodge that mantle a lot.
Yeah, it's just not that I don't have it. I want to lead. Who was it that ran? Under the tree?
No, the fish. Jonah. He ran.
He did not want that mantle.
He didn't want
Gideon.
No. Yeah, he ran from the mantle, but that don't mean that the mantle is not there.
Right.
It was there.
You're right. The desire is to lead, but the way you lead,
right,
that's up to
Yeah.
So I do agree that socially, you're told that you should be the head, you should be the leader, but because from the beginning of time, I think God knew He had it right. Mm-hmm. This is the way it works best. Let it be like this. This is the perfect way for your family to achieve success. But in the feminist movement, here we come and say, no, it's all equal. This is me. I can do everything that he can do. We can do it the same. What makes him a better leader than me? Now we're fighting for the mantle of leader. And look at the nation. Look at the world.
But when you say we're fighting for the mantle of a leader, and I guess and you're gonna say, oh, that's because you're one off or blah blah blah. But when you say, because the feminist movement had some good in it, because the feminist movement, and I'm not saying to the fact that all things equal, because all things are not equal. But what I am saying is, for women to get like fair pay.
Oh yeah.
It's because when you just say the feminist movement, like this is just a bad thing. I mean, I guess it's found on what you mean.
I didn't think I needed to, but I will. But go ahead.
I was going to say some of those things weren't from the feminist movement. I will say some of those things did not come from the feminist movement. Civil rights. Yeah. So some of them things just came from a woman, and I want this to happen. I'm not necessarily a feminist, and I don't agree with it.
But you're logging it up under the feminist movement, and that's really what it is.
But if a man and a woman are doing the same job, they should get paid equal. Oh, that's just common sense.
If
we're bringing the same thing to the table and doing the same thing, there should not be any difference in how they're paid or what they're worth or anything like that. I completely agree with that. That should be, and it should have taken away the oppression of women.
Right.
Yeah.
But then the feminist movement says we're oppressed if we're not the leader. Because why can't I? I'm equal to him in all things. That there shouldn't be a leader. It should be who's the best leader. We should, now they're toggling over this thing of, should men lead?
But then my thing is, if that's the case, then don't be married or in a relationship with a person like that. If it's a feminist movement type of female, and you are a
alpha female, go get a beta male.
You are a traditional man, then you know that's not your link up.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I mean, because it's gonna be like this. Because that movement was put in place for the women that think like that. So they're always going to think like that. And I mean, unless they have a change of heart, have a change of spirit, or whatever the case may be, that's who they are.
Well, you see it now when you look at social media and you look at the women and how they say, I don't need a man. I can do it by myself. I can make my own money. I get my own bag. I can do this. I don't need no dude for nothing. I'll get one for this if I want it.
But then you need one for something.
I don't want it. You know what I'm saying? Everything he can do, I can run my own business. I can do this. I can lead my own household.
Except for what you have to go back and get him for.
Right.
So you need him for something. So the statement that I don't need a man for nothing is not an accurate statement. Yes, you do. You need him for that one thing.
Man, you don't. They got roses out there. Every woman who got a rose at home or this thing, they don't even need them for that anymore. They got one that can do it faster. Right. Everything. They've replaced their. Yeah. It's like replacing the man with toys, things, jobs, anything to say that he's not necessary for whatever I need to do. He's not necessary. Yeah, add on if I choose to add them on, but because that's what you're seeing more and more today is, why do I need one?
Have a kid.
I promise.
But some of them don't want to have kids.
Bro, then we talking about the ones that do.
Like they said, they don't need
if you don't want
a man for nothing.
Don't start a family. Don't have no legacy. When you die, your life means nothing. Just straight up.
Right.
How about that? You have no legacy. It's gone. You're the mother of nobody.
I got you. I know we're at time now. Huh? Okay. All right. Well, we're an hour in right now anyway. So we had some for y'all who didn't catch the beginning or the middle. Go back and check out some of this conversation, and please drop a comment in there that we can talk about it next week, because we do need to finish this conversation. There's a lot more that needs to be done and said on this to try to figure out, because I personally believe that United States is failing and the world is failing, and it's in so much turmoil because the house is not in order. The individual houses are not in order. We've steered so far away from the design of the house that this is why we're in this predicament.
Well, and we're in this predicament because that's what the Bible said.
We're in
the end days.
Yeah, that's all. We're in days in BC. So we were always in the end days. So every generation thought we were in the end days.
Because one day to God is 1,000 days for man. Right. The timing is not the same. So we still living out the end days.
Jesus said he was coming back when he left the second time.
Right. And we had a comment from Reese Cup. Oh, I'm sorry. Andrea Reese, saying that legacy is beyond children. So that's how some people feel, and I feel like we don't understand the importance of being with someone in a relationship till you get older, when you don't have anybody, nobody to take care of you, nobody to be there for you, and then you realize, I might have misjudged my life.
Yep.
Yeah.
And putting some other things in priority over what should have.
Yep.
But that's our show for tonight. My Turn, My Truth. We will see you next week. And we enjoyed you. And again, drop a comment, please, even after the show's over. Yeah. And let us know what you want to talk about next week. We good?
Yes.
Thank y'all. Until next time, we love y'all.